I know we talked about a topic earlier. This question came to mind. It was, how many times have we put the wrong person in charge and ended up costing the business severe setbacks?
Oh God. I think this is a common theme that we're seeing going around right now. I've experienced it myself just recently with the wrong person in charge and over a ton of different times. But before we get started, I wanted to just say, hey, filming this podcast in Puerto Escondido, Mexico, at this amazing remote resort. And last time I posted a picture of me on vacation in a bathing suit, dude, I got some haters, complained and went around and bitched, and because I posted a picture of myself in my bathing suit at 45 and saying like, hey, you can too look good. And so before I start, I just wanted to say, if you don't like this, and I'm not necessarily in my bathing suit, but I'm kind of in a bathing suit. If you don't like it, don't watch it. So let's just start there. So how many times have I put someone in charge that was the wrong person? Oh God.
Not just that it was the wrong person, but it caused some severe setbacks.
Oh, yeah. I told Chris before we started and we were prepping for this topic, I said probably more times than I could count on both hands. But the one thing I can say is that I don't do it anymore. I've learned my lesson. I have protocols and questions I ask myself. Like, forget interviewing the person and promoting the person, because they're going to fill you full of shit and tell you what you want to hear. Yes, sir, I can do it. Like, yes, boss. Like, we had said, that word boss just drives me crazy. And so it's asking myself these questions to run through putting someone in charge that's not ready yet, that isn't the right person. And I mean, we recently had this. I had a great friend go through this as well, that she put someone in charge and it hurt the company greatly. Why do we do this? I think we do it because most business owners are optimistic. They think that, you know, they can coach this person, help this person, breed them into the right leadership level. And I think that we do a lot of things based off hope and
Opportunity bias.
yeah, we do a lot of things based off of hope. We also think we think we can fix everything. Like, that's just how an entrepreneur is. They want to fix everything. That's why we suck at hiring. If you're the owner, don't do the interviews, because you won't follow your own process, and you're gonna look for every charity case out there and give them a job, because it's like a project to us. Like, ooh, like someone to coach and mentor and move up. And I feel like that's why we do it. And the other reason, there's several reasons why we do it. The other one is burnout. We stay too long in positions, or we're in a position covering it because maybe the past manager left or was fired. And then we hire or promote for a position too quickly out of a few different fears. Out of a fear that, one, if we don't promote this person, they'll leave to that management level. And also a fear of having to stay there, like us having to cover that position. We're burnt out. We don't want to stay there. Can anybody just please do it? It's like that, anybody. And when someone's like, oh, I can do that. Oh, sure, no problem. But like, looking back, how good are they actually at their current job? Just because someone clocks in on time and out on time and check the boxes does not mean that they're doing a good job. They're just checking fucking boxes and clocking in and clocking out. It doesn't mean they're doing a good job at their job. It means they're just doing the minimum to do their job. And leadership and management people do more than that. They learn outside of business hours. They learn and they read on their own time. They ask, does anybody else need anything? Hey, I have some extra time. You want to know how many people on your business ask that? Hey, I'm done with all my work today. Does anybody need a hand? You can't tell me that you're actually working on something from the time you clock in to the time you clock out and you don't have an extra 30 minutes to help a teammate out. That's a leader. But before you promote someone, before you hire someone, and it's easy to see this from an internal perspective if you look for it. If you don't look for it, because I've promoted internally that epically failed. Just like hurt our culture. Luckily, one of our teams was so strong that when it failed, the team kind of rallied together. But look for these things before you promote, and look for these things before you hire. Test projects are a great thing for new hires, right? Give them a handful of projects to see how they work before you work with them. But I think there's a lot of reasons why we're hopeful, we're wishful, we're optimistic, we're burnout. We should have removed ourselves from the seat a long time ago. When I coach business owners, I always tell them if they have to go and cover a seat, let's just say your salesperson quit, your sales leader quit, you have to go cover that sales seat. I always tell my owners, make a time frame of when you say you're going to get out. Say, hey, I'm going to cover the seat for 3 months while I'm here. I'm going to rebuild. I'm going to audit. I'm going to assess. I'm going to make the process even better. And at 3 months, I'm done. I'm out. Because what happens is we don't do that and we stay there and we hate it. And then when we are desperate and we look to hire, we just hire anybody with no plan, with no intention, right? So if you have a plan, you can execute, you can get it done, and then you can intentionally hire the right person to cover that leadership role. But I think business owners are so, and I saw a post that said this yesterday, they're so in the day-to-day that they struggle with strategy, and strategy is the biggest issue they have because they can't grow because they're in the day-to-day, and when they need to strategize, they rush it. They make bad decisions. Leadership, as far as from an owner, it takes practice. You're gonna make these mistakes. You're gonna make these bad hires. You have to do it. I can't tell you how not to do it. I can tell you how to help prevent it so that you don't have to make the mistake as many times as I did, but you still have to make some of these mistakes because they're the lessons you have to learn.
And when you're talking about seeing things to prevent this from happening, or at least coming into it, one thing that comes to mind is listening or looking at how often they talk about company-wide issues or concerns versus personal issues or concerns.
Yeah, so that was another thing that we saw looking back. So the last few months have been a good reflection. I've been looking back on a lot of things, and that was one thing that we noticed in really great leaders versus the leaders that were given the title but didn't earn it. Right? Just because you get put in a management level or a leadership level doesn't make you a leader. It's a temporary title for you to earn that spot. And so what we found was the people that were not, that ended up failing, not working out, they were not great leaders, they were promoted and they shouldn't have been. They weren't transparent in their communication as far as they never ever shared personal wins and wows. Like just for an example, in weekly meetings. And what I mean a personal, we don't need to know your personal issues, but personally, like, hey, it was my grandmother's birthday, like, hey, my kids just graduated last week. They never shared a personal perspective to anything. This was a job, a punch the clock job. That's all it was a job. And so that's how they're going to interact with your team, with their team, as it's a job. There will be no connection. It will be very surface level. And so before you promote anyone to a position, how open are they already, or are they at the interview, or during maybe for leadership, you're going to have multiple interviews. Take them to dinner. How open are they? Will they introduce you to their wife, to their husbands? Would you be willing to have them babysit your kids?
It's a great test.
Right? It's a great test. Would you, and I don't mean babysit for 2 hours. I mean, would you be willing to leave them overnight with this person? It's a great question to ask. And you don't get that insight unless someone is open and honest and is willing to share who they are and what they're passionate about and what they're up to. Again, it doesn't need to be super personal, but definitely they have to be open to sharing about who they are, their dreams, aspirations, goals, failures. Everything can't be fucking perfect, and it can't always be the customer's fault ever. Like the last person that just left, nothing was ever anyone's fault in the company, not in our ops team. It was always the customer. And I'm like, it sounds like when people interview and they're like, oh, everybody sucks and nobody wants to work. It's a statistic and possibility that it's always them and it's never you. It's actually always almost you and not them.
You can always influence the future.
Because you can always, but you can also, you can influence the future, but you could have done something to prevent it, help it, fix it, correct it, versus just saying, oh, the customer was unresponsive. It's not my fault. And so I think that we do this, and when we do this as the owner, we get really, really, really down on ourselves. We know we messed up. We saw the signs. Like I promoted someone and it didn't work out at all. And I looked over at Chris and I said, I knew that that probably wasn't a great decision, because to be a great leader, you have to have communication skills. It's like the number one skill, because if you can't communicate, you can't lead. They won't follow you to the ends of the earth. And if you can't communicate openly, and this was a very closed person, I said, I should have known better. It was my fault. I should have known better, but I was desperate to fill the position.
If the vulnerability isn't there, then how can you expect the same for the rest of the team?
Yeah, I was desperate to fill that position. We had somebody in it, it didn't work out. We needed to put somebody else there. And at the end of the day, we don't have anybody there now. We actually don't need the position. We found that if the team is strong, we got rid of, it was a middleman. Like, we got rid of that position because they didn't need to be micromanaged or babysitted, because they were communicating. They were open and honest. But when their leader's not, that made them fail because the message wasn't being delivered up to leadership, right? To the owner. There was no representation from them, from our ops team, because the person we put in charge was the wrong person. They didn't communicate. They were not open and honest. And I think that, like, for me, my mistake was this person was highly organized, always on time. And I just looked at those things. I was like, oh my gosh, they check every box. They're always on time and they're organized. But actually, over writing my book, One Layer Deep, and then not noticing, oh, but they always clock out on the second. 5 o'clock, bam, on the second. Not a minute more will they give you of their life. And that's okay, like, to a certain point. But when you see the other teammates maybe clocking in 5 minutes early to get set up, they're having their coffee, they're chatting, you know, the organized and the check the list. I thought that that's what made a great manager, a great leader. But that level of organization only overcomplicated the entire department, overcomplicated everything. Like, it made it so fucking slow that it was agonizing.
It wasn't one layer deep.
No, and that's what it was. It wasn't one layer deep. After they left and we went to look at things, one, they hadn't added anything new. They only revised what was already there, but it was not even in our tone, in our language. I mean, I could have done it with ChatGPT in 5 seconds, but he checked the box. He checked the box, done. And so at the end of the day, like, we're hard on ourselves as owners, because when it happens and we kind of reminisce, and if you're an employee and you think that, like, owners don't care or it doesn't upset us or hurt us, like, you're wrong. Like, when I promoted this person and they failed, I felt bad because I shouldn't have promoted them. Looking back and pondering, this is like a couple months now and I'm still not over it. I'm still trying to figure out, like, hey, where did it go wrong? When did the relationship become fractured? We're hard on ourselves because we want to figure out, how do we not do this again? And when we start to ponder about it and, like, look back and say, hey, how does this not happen again? And you start to interview your current employees, you're mortified at what's being said. Oh yeah, so-and-so told me never to communicate in the Slack channel, to only direct message them. I run an open and honest and transparent company because it's one layer deep. I don't need a middleman. I don't need a freaking expensive courier delivering me messages. Put it in the open channel so everyone can see it. And you're mortified by the things this person was doing because it goes against everything or all of the values of the company. But again, because I was blind to clock in on time, check the boxes, highly organized, you just automatically assume. But what do they say about assuming? Assuming makes an ass out of you and me. And, you know, you're mortified that fear was injected into your current employees.
Or fear of going back on your own word as the owner on promoting someone.
Yeah, fear. And so I should have fired this person a while ago, but I pride myself sometimes on, like, you know, making sure we coach up and not necessarily write out. And I didn't want to inject more fear into our current ops team because he was telling everybody I was just going to fire everyone. And if I fired him, then that was true. But the amount of fear that was injected into our staff was absolutely uncalled for. Like, absolutely uncalled for. This person had to be a miserable human being, which is not fair to the other people. If you want to be miserable, okay. But for you to inject fear into people for no valid reason whatsoever is actually really, really horrible human being. And so with my friend who we were just talking about this a day or two ago, she did the same thing. She promoted someone into hiring, and she goes, Libby, I know I shouldn't have done it. They didn't have the skills, they didn't have the background, but I just wanted to get it off my plate. And she did it, and it went really, really bad. She lost tons of, they're understaffed. The person that she put into the hiring position also did some other things which caused mutiny. Many of her longtime employees left because this person was injecting different types of fear, causing employees to have anxiety, lack of trust for the company. And so longtime employees quit, and those longtime employees quit, and her business was almost cut by a third. I was like, oh my God, it's like she got hit with a hurricane. Like for us, we lost like our whole business. Actually, it's almost cut by half, about a third. And she goes, I didn't want to say anything because I knew it was my fault. She was struggling with like how to ask for help, she was going to sign up for a coaching session with me, and she didn't follow up. And I just kind of dismissed it because people have to be ready. And she goes, no, I didn't follow up. And because I just felt horrible. I did this. I knew I did it. I knew it was my fault. And she goes, I just felt horrible. I didn't even know how to ask for help. I didn't even know what to say. She goes, we lost so much business. Some cleaners that got disgruntled because of this manager took our customers with them and are cleaning those houses on the sides, servicing those customers on the sides. Because when fear is injected into people go into that like survival mode, that fight or flight. At the end of the day, for me, transparency, whether you're the employee, you're a manager, you're a leader, you're the owner, a company as a whole, transparency and honesty it's one layer deep. You don't have to peel back those layers of like an onion. You don't need a middleman delivering information when it could just be said in a group. What are we hiding? Like if you're a great business owner and you're ethical, all of our channels are open in our companies except for our finance channel. And we just keep the finance channel locked because they don't need to see the finances, as far as they don't need to have that worry. That's my responsibility as an owner. Some weeks are freaking phenomenal and some suck. And if someone that wasn't ready to see that information didn't understand it, it would stress them out. It would cause fear. And so they don't need to see that. But we share our financials in monthly meetings and quarterly meetings. They all can see it. But as far as the Slack channels go, or the Google Chats channels go, they're all open. And if you're a great human being and you do great business, and your intention is to provide a great service and hire great people, think about, could I actually strip back some of the management I have because I am one layer deep, versus like I have the visionary, the integrator, then the head of marketing and the head of sales and the head of ops and the head of HR and finance. That integrator sometimes, if you're a closed business, is just an expensive courier. Like, why do I have to tell somebody to do something? Like, granted, I own 4 businesses right now. I'm not running all of the day-to-day. But if you're a true CEO and you have great head of seats in each of those departments, you don't need that middleman. That is so much work. What I found was that the information is never re-delivered the same.
The integrator is really, it was designed as quote unquote a buffer for the visionary.
Yeah, a buffer for a visionary. So if you're a crazy visionary, and I can be kind of crazy, but I'm very open and honest about my crazy, and I've filtered my crazy. Like I don't just vomit information all over the employees like, oh, here's a new idea. No, I have my peer groups, my channels talk about my new ideas. If you're a crazy visionary and you're just causing chaos and disruption, maybe you want that integrator. But from what I found from a lot of mentors I've hired, a lot of people I follow, most don't have that integrator.
Because they don't need it.
And if you're running an open and honest, transparent company, I would say that you probably don't need it. And you're going to get tired of paying. I had a great integrator, but after a while, I was kind of like, why am I paying him? He's just re-delivering the information. And if you have great head of seats that are already accountable to themselves, you don't need an integrator. I think I used to be a huge EOS fan. EOS was made when you really don't have strong head of seats. And you needed someone to hold those people accountable because the visionary didn't want to. But there are ways to hold people accountable without having a middleman. And the reason I'm not like downing that middleman, that integrator role. I'm just saying the information for me was never redelivered the same way, with the same tone, the same voice. And I started to see our company change.
It was because there was no transparency.
And that was because there's no transparency from the person delivering the information, checking a box, checking a box, checking a box. But was there any empathy in that? Were the questions deep and valid? You know, I have my head of ops and Organize It, and she's phenomenal. Marcy is absolutely phenomenal. She's empathetic. She cares. She listens. She relates to them. You know, oh yes, my kids or my husband. Oh, I understand. She relates, but she doesn't also let people walk all over her. She holds them accountable, and she's absolutely like your ideal candidate for that. And you know, looking back, every one of the mistakes I've had with hiring the wrong person that totally disrupted her was by me, because I'm still the one that hires management, by me. And looking back, like, you know, it wasn't a right choice. You made it out of desperation, or you made it because you were focused on the wrong things in business, right? You were focused on, oh, they're organized, or oh, they check the boxes, or oh, they always clock in on time.
So going back, if you were to have really met and aligned with those people in a one-to-one situation, got the feel of how transparent they were, would you have caught these types of issues?
Yes and no. Because in a one-to-one situation, I feel like they fill you full of shit with icing and whipped cream and a cherry on top. Because Chris, you met with this person in a one-to-one situation, and did they fill you full of crap?
And there was reading between the lines of how open or how transparent they were.
Yeah.
Which is difficult.
It's difficult when they put on a front for the boss. And if anyone ever calls me a boss, like, yes, boss, I'm gonna lose my crap on them. But it's hard to read between those lines, so just say like in an interview or in an internal interview for a promotion, because I feel like they could just tell you what you want to hear. Just tell you yes, and you're so desperate, you just want a yes. You just want anybody to do it, right? You're just tired, you're burnt out, you're overworked, you're overwhelmed, and you just need to get your head above water. And if this person wants to do it, and it's an internal promotion, oh my God, less training. Yay, they already know how to do it. I don't even have to train this person. It's almost like you're so willing to give it up because you're just so desperate at the end of the day. You know, you're so desperate because you're just overwhelmed. Business is hard. You know, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But yeah, looking back, the signs were there. I didn't see them. But I will say I've learned my lessons. And I know now, well, I can guarantee you now, I will not be promoting too fast or hiring for leadership too soon. Because those positions, no matter if it's sales, ops, HR, can cause huge disruptions in your company, huge, and can cost you a ton of revenue. But worse, it can break the culture in your company.
The wrong person in the wrong seat at the wrong time.
Yeah.